my amazing Algebra Half students. This is Mrs. A, and I love math. And today we're doing lesson 44 in our Saxon Blue books, and we're doing multiplying and dividing mixed numbers, which is easy. So we should have a fast and fun lesson. All right, so when we're multiplying a mixed number by any other kind of fraction, we're going to do the same thing every time. We're going to change our mixed number into an improper fraction. Now notice this one already is an improper fraction. So we're going to change our mixed number into an improper fraction, and we're going to get 4 times 3 is 12, plus 1 is 13 thirds. And then times 6 fifths. Now when we have a fraction times another fraction, remember we multiply across the top and we multiply across the bottom, and we would get 13 times 6 over 3 times 15. But we would have to simplify our answer. So a fast way to do it is to look for any numerator and any denominator that have the same factor. So 6 has a factor of 3, and 3 has a factor of 3. So 6 divided by 3 is 2, and 3 divided by 3 is 1. So now when we multiply, we get 26. 13 times 2 is 26, and 1 times 5 is 5. And when we simplify to turn it back into a mixed number, 26 divided by 5 is 5 whole times. That's 25. And then 1 left over, 1/5 left over. So our answer is 5 and 1/5, which is correct. That is our first example. So now we're going to do example 2. In example 2, we have 3 mixed numbers that we're going to multiply together. So the first step is to turn each mixed number into an improper fraction. 2 times 4 is 8 plus 1 is 9. 9 fourths is the same as 2 and 1/4 times 3 times 3 is 9 plus 1 is 10. 10 thirds is the same as 3 and 1/3 times 5 and 1/12 is the same as 5 times 12 is 60 plus 1 is 61 twelfths. Now we have everything in improper form and we're ready to multiply. But notice that I have a few things that I could cancel. Okay, I see a 9 that will cancel with a 3 because they both have a factor of 3. I'm going to divide both the 9 and the 3 by 3. As long as we do this simplification on the top and the bottom at the same time, we're good. We don't have any problems. It's always a numerator with a denominator. Okay, so 9 divided by 3 is 3, and 3 divided by 3 is 1. So that makes it a little bit simpler to work with. Okay, so now we're going to take a 4 and a 10 are both divisible by 2. 10 divided by 2 is 5. 4 divided by 2 is 2. Okay, now I still see one more thing that I can simplify. Do you see it? Okay, I see a 12 and a 3. And 3 goes into 12 evenly. So I'm going to divide the 3 by 3 and get a 1, divide the 12 by 3 and get a 4. So now I'm going to look at everything very carefully. I have a 5, but there's nothing down here that is divisible by 5. And I have a 61, which is definitely not divisible by 2 or 4. So we're done with our simplification. So now let's see what our new number is going to be. If I multiply across the top, I get 5 times 61, which would be 305. And on the bottom, I've got an 8. So let's do that on another board. Okay, so we take the 305 divided by the 8, and we divide it out. 305 divided by 8 is 38. 38, when we get it done, we end up getting 1 remainder and 1/8. So 38 and 1/8 is the mixed number form. But this is where your book takes a moment to explain something very important. When you're in arithmetic, we always turn improper fractions back into mixed numbers. But now we're in algebra. In algebra, the improper form is considered correct, and the mixed number form is correct. Both of them are correct, so you can leave your answer in either form. In the answers in the book from now on, they're going to do one or the other way, and either one is considered correct. Sometimes they'll do it mixed number, and sometimes they'll do it improper fraction, just to keep you in practice, but either form is correct. Now, the rule that I usually follow is kind of a universal math rule. If the problem starts with mixed numbers, we generally will put the answer back into mixed numbers. If the problem starts with improper fractions, we will usually leave the answer in improper fractions. That's kind of a form rule that's universal all the way through math. If the problem starts with fractions, you leave the answer in fractions. If the problem starts with decimals, you leave the answer in decimals. If the problem has both, then you can take your pick. Okay, so those are just some rules that are kind of conventions in mathematics, and from now on, you may see either one of these as the answer. Okay, so now we're going to practice dividing by mixed numbers. And again, we're going to turn each mixed number into its improper form. So 2 times 8 is 16, plus 1 is 17, so this one becomes 17/8. And then we're dividing by 3 times 3 is 9, plus 2 is 11, 11/3. Now we know that when we divide by a fraction, it's the same as multiplying by the fraction's reciprocal. So this 17 divided by 7 over 8 divided by 11 over 3 is the same as turning this into multiplication and turning this into its reciprocal. Now, that's the same thing. All right? So now we look very carefully to see, is there anything that's going to cancel? Nope. We're stuck. We're going to have to multiply all the way across. So 17 times 3 is 51. And 8 times 11 is 88. And that number is not going to turn into a mixed number anyway because it is not improper. So 51 over 88 is the final answer. Okay, so now we're going to do a doozy of a problem. Look at that. We have 4 things that we're going to do. We're going to say 4 1/8 divided by 2 1/5 times 3 1/4 divided by 5 1/2. Oh! So now, 4 times 8 is 32 plus 1 is 33/8 divided by 2 times 5 is 10 plus 1 is 11/5 times 3 times 4 is 12 plus 1 is 13/4 divided by 5 times 2 is 10 plus 1 is 11/2. Okay, so now we have a division, and to divide by 11/5 is the same as multiplying by 5/11. So let's flip this over. 5/11 and turn this one into multiplication. And then we're going to flip this last one over and make it 2/11 and turn this into multiplication. And now we're going to look to see if anything will cancel. Okay, so we have a 33 and an 11. 33 and 11 both divide by 11, leaving me with a 3 and a 1. And then I have a 3, but nothing down here has a 3. I have a 5, but nothing down here has a 5. A 13 and a 2. Now the 2 and the 4 will cancel. So we'll do the 2 and the 4 with a 2 and a 1. And I think I've done everything I can do to that. So now let's see what this big number is going to be. Nothing else is going to cancel. So we have a 15 times a 13. So 15 times a 13 on the top. And we have a 16 times 11 on the bottom. And I've got to go do that math real quickly to see what the final answer is. Okay, I erased this and I went up and did it up there for you. So 15 times 13 is 195 and 16 times 11 is 176. That one is improper, so we could write it as a mixed number. It would be 1 and 19 over 176 if I did it with a mixed number. But your book leaves it just like this, because your book is now allowing you to leave it as a mixed number. So this one right here is the answer. What big numbers. All right, so now we're going to multiply, and this is our practice A. So please copy it down and then pause your video. Okay, so 4 times 4 is 16 plus 1 is 17 fourths times 8 ninths. The 4 and the 8 both have a 4, so we end up with 4 divided by 4 is 1, 8 divided by 4 is 2. Nothing else will cancel, so we're going to get 34 over 9. Okay, so that one would be the correct answer because it does not simplify any further. And if I turned it into a mixed number, which you should practice from time to time, it's going to be 3, because that would be 27, and then 7 ninths left over. Okay, so either one of those would be considered the correct answer. Okay, so now for the B, we have 3 things to do. So 2 and 1/4 will be 8 times 8 plus 1 is 9, 9 fourths, times 1 times 2 is 2 plus 1 is 3 halves, times 3 times 3 is 9 plus 1 is 10 thirds. Oh, this one's nice because you can see right away that I have a 3 that's going to cancel a 3 with a 1 and a 1. Poof, it's gone. So now we've got a 2 and a 10, which 2 divided by 2 is 1, 10 divided by 2 is 5. Remember, I'm always dividing by the same number on the top and the bottom. Okay, so now let's look carefully. I've got a 9, but nothing else that will divide by it, and a 5, but nothing that has a 5, so we're done. And we're going to end up with 45 on the top and 4 on the bottom, like that. Okay, so that would be my improper fraction. Anybody do that real quickly in their head to find out what the mixed number would be? 45 divided by 4 is 11 and 1/4. Okay, so let's do 2 more practices and we'll be done. Okay, so here is practice C. So copy it down and pause your video. Okay, so we're going to turn each one into an improper fraction. 3 times 4 is 12 plus 1 more is 13 fourths. And then we turn this one into an improper fraction, and we have 10 plus 1 is 11 fifths. So this one divided by this one is the same as this one times the reciprocal, right? So 13 fourths times 5/11. So I flip the second fraction over and I look. And I can see nothing that's going to go into anything, so we're going to have 5 times 13 is 65 over 44. 65 over 44 is improper, but that's okay. If you wanted to turn it into a mixed number, it would be 1 and 21 over 44. 21 over 44. 1 and 21 over 44 for the mixed number. Now for our very last practice, we have a whopper. Okay, so we have 4 fractions and they are already in their improper form. So we don't have to turn them into improper form. So all we have to do is get them all multiplied. So we're going to turn this one. We'll keep this one the same. Right, this one is times 6 over 7 times 21 over 9 times, flip that one over, 3 over 5. And now, let's see what we can do. We've got a 3 and a 3 that cancel. And we have a 7 and a 14 that can both be divided by 7. That's going to leave a 1 and a 2. And 5's not going to help out anybody. 9, ooh, look, we've got 9 and 6 will both divide by 3. So 9 divided by 3 is 3. 6 divided by 3 is 2. But 21 divided by 3 is 7. So we'll cancel this one with a 7 and a 1. I think that's everything. So now on the numerator, 2 times 2 is 4. Times 7 is 28. On the denominator, 5. And I get 28 fifths. And 28 fifths would be, 28 divided by 5 is 5 wholes. That's 25. And then 3 fifths left over. And practice doing that in your head. Okay, because we need to get faster and faster with our arithmetic. And we are done with lesson 44. And this is Mrs. A. And may God bless your day.